Ukraine's counteroffensive may be moving slower than expected, but that doesn't mean Ukrainians aren't pressing the attack. Over the last month, Ukraine's armed forces ferried troops and armored vehicles across the Dnipro River, south of Kherson. Now it looks like Ukraine established a beachhead on the east bank of the river, which could prove quite consequential in the months ahead. From a strategic standpoint, the Dnipro River is a natural barrier along the southern battlefront that Russia exploited to great effect. After evacuating Kherson a year ago, Russian forces withdrew to the east or left bank of the river. From there, Russian forces could stifle Ukrainian advances while trenches and minefields made up the bulk of Russian defenses elsewhere. If the beachhead Ukraine established holds, Ukraine's armed forces might be able to bypass the bulk of Russia's main defensive lines and outflank Russian positions. Ukraine could also establish a more direct route to Crimea. To counter Ukraine's new foothold, Russia will also need to redeploy troops from other parts of the front lines to stop Ukraine's advance along the Dnipro. This will no doubt stretch Moscow's resources even further along the 600 miles or so of front line. The tactics to establish the beachhead were similar to what Ukraine is using to clear out Russian trenches and tree lines. Small, fast-moving units that strike quickly and then leave. Now that it has a foothold on the eastern bank of the river, the Institute for the Study of War says Ukraine is increasingly conducting larger than usual ground operations there and establishing supply lines for its troops. A beachhead on the east bank is significant, but it's not likely the grand victory to end the war quickly. Instead, the fighting is likely to stretch on for the foreseeable future, which means Ukraine will need more money, weapons, and aid shipments from its Western partners. American aid is not dried up just yet, but the U.S. is trying to figure out ways to fund its own government, which means pressing pause on any legislation that would send more aid to Ukraine. Germany is still sending plenty of weapons and ammo, though. The German Ministry of Defense released details of next year's aid packages to Ukraine. They're worth more than $8.5 billion. The shipments will include more Leopard tanks, infantry fighting vehicles, air defense systems, ammo, and drones. Meanwhile, the Russians are also trying to press the attack and recapture the momentum on the battlefield. Most of Russia's recent efforts focused on Avdiivka in Ukraine's east. The fighting there is said to be some of the fiercest of the war. The ISW and Ukraine's Ministry of Defense said while Russia did manage to take a few kilometers of new territory, thousands of Russian troops died and dozens of armored vehicles were destroyed in the effort.